All right, let's dive into Chapter 3 of The Giver. Now, on the surface, this chapter might seem kind of quiet, but trust me, it is absolutely packed with clues. If you look closely, you can actually see the first crack starting to form in this so-called perfect society. So what do you say we put on our detective hats and uncover the unsettling truths that are hidden right there in plain sight?
So the chapter kicks off with what looks like a perfect family moment. Jonas's dad, who's a nurturer, brings home this little new child named Gabriel for some extra care. It feels warm, it feels normal, it feels completely safe. But don't get too comfortable. This cozy little scene is exactly where the first clue pops up. At first glance, this community is a picture of absolute perfect order. But the very first sign that something is deeply, deeply wrong is hidden right where nobody is supposed to look. The clue isn't about Gabriel's size or how he wiggles around. It's his eyes. They're pale, just like Jonas's. And you have to understand, in a world that is built on uniformity, a simple difference like eye color isn't just unusual, it's a huge anomaly. This little detail really highlights the community's most important value, sameness. Dark eyes are the norm. They're the comfortable default setting for everybody. Pale eyes, like the ones that Jonas and now Gabriel share, they're the exception. And in this society, exceptions are unsettling because they challenge the whole idea that everyone can be and should be the exact same. They're a tiny crack in this perfect facade. And this pressure to conform is enforced by this really powerful unwritten rule. You just don't point out what's different. You ignore it. You pretend it doesn't even exist. It's a system that forces everyone to be the same, not with laws, but by making any little difference a source of social shame. It basically erases individuality before anyone can even notice it. But Jonas, he can't ignore it. He feels this connection to the little baby's eyes and senses they have a quality he calls depth. This is just fantastic foreshadowing. Jonas has this gut feeling that these eyes don't just look different, they see differently, hinting that there's so much more to reality than what's on the surface. Okay, our next big clue comes from what seems like a totally innocent family conversation, but it accidentally peels back a layer of this society to show a pretty startling truth about personal choice, or, well, the total lack of it.
Jonas's younger sister Lily says this with all the excitement a 7-year-old can muster because she heard it sounds like an easy gig. But her mother's reaction? It is immediate and it is sharp. So why? Because Lily just stumbled upon one of the community's ugliest truths.
You see, being a birth mother isn't some respected profession. It's a temporary function, and the path is grim. You get 3 cushy years, you have 3 babies for the community, and then you spend the rest of your life doing hard, physical labor. It's a role with absolutely no honor, only utility. So here's the crucial point. What you want is completely irrelevant. Lily's hopes, Jonas's fears about what his future assignment will be, none of it matters. Life isn't a journey of discovery here. It's just a series of jobs handed down by the elders. You don't choose your path. It is chosen for you, period. So if everyone is supposed to be the same and nobody gets a choice, how is all of this rigid conformity enforced? Well, our next clue reveals a system of constant public correction that keeps every single person in line. Jonas thinks about his sister's messy hair ribbons and just knows an announcement like this is coming for her. The correction isn't private, nope. It's broadcast for everyone to hear. Even the tiniest little mistake is worth a public announcement, which creates this atmosphere of constant surveillance. And then he remembers his own moment of public humiliation. This exact announcement aimed right at him after he, on a whim, took an apple home from the recreation area. No one had to say a word to him directly. That anonymous, disembodied voice from the speaker was more than enough. And that's the genius of the system, isn't it? It's incredibly efficient social engineering. Public shaming works so well that it makes one-on-one discipline almost unnecessary. The community basically polices itself through the shared knowledge of every single minor rule break. Which brings us right to the apple, the central mystery of this chapter. It's the event that Jonas just cannot explain, and it's the first time he experiences something that separates his reality completely from everyone else's. It starts so simply. Jonas and his friend Asher are just tossing an apple back and forth. It's this mundane, everyday thing he's probably done thousands of times. Nothing could possibly be more normal. And then, the impossible happens. As he's watching the apple fly through the air, something about it changes. The book just says it changed. He can't describe it, he can't process it, but he knows it happened. It was so fast, just a fleeting flicker in reality that went against all the rules of the predictable, stable world he lived in. And by the time it landed back in his hand, it was just a normal apple again.
Now, if it happened once, maybe he could have dismissed it. But it happened 4 times. This wasn't a mistake or some trick of the light. This was a real, recurring event that, and this is the key, only he could see.
And his response is fascinatingly scientific, right? He tries to find a logical explanation. He inspects the apple, he checks his own vision. He even uses Asher as a control group, and Asher saw nothing. But this logical approach only makes the mystery deeper and makes him feel more alone. For the first time, his reality is starting to break away from everybody else's. So let's put all our evidence together. We've got a society that is obsessed with sameness, where any difference is just ignored. A society where your entire life is assigned to you, taking away all personal choice. This is all enforced through constant surveillance and public shaming. And right in the middle of it all is Jonas, a boy who is starting to see things that nobody else can. And this brings us to the final, really powerful question this chapter leaves us with. Jonas feels bewildered, confused, and totally alone. From his point of view, something must be wrong with him. But from our perspective, looking at all these clues, we have to ask, is the problem with Jonas's perception, or is he the only one who's finally starting to see the deep, fundamental cracks in his perfect world?